Every time I put on Cosmo's Factory, every single time, I get about 3 songs deep and I think the same thought. How does a band this locked in fall apart? Because they were locked in. Four guys from El Cerrito, California. 2 of them met in a junior high music room when they were 14. They rehearsed in a shed in the drummer's backyard, and then they went out and became the biggest band in America. And then, over about 3 years, they did things to each other that none of them ever came back from. Not one blow-up. 10 separate moments where somebody chose himself over the other 3. 10 betrayals, counting down. And number 1 is not the one you are thinking of right now. Number 10, the film they erased themselves from. I want you to picture the biggest weekend of your life, and then picture the only person who can prove it happened, deciding, by himself, that it did not count. August 1969. Creedence were not just at Woodstock, they were the first act to sign a contract for the festival, back in April, for $10,000. They were the anchor. They were the reason other people said yes. They were promised a prime Saturday night slot, around 9 o'clock. What they were not told is that they would be following the Grateful Dead. And here is the part I did not know until I went digging, and I wish I had known it sooner. Everything ran late. The Dead set turned into a whole situation. Creedence did not walk out until midnight on the Sunday morning. Fogerty's line about it is that the audience was asleep, close to 1 million people in his telling, unconscious in a field. Now, here is where it stops being bad luck and starts being a decision. Creedence did not appear in the Woodstock film. They did not appear on the soundtrack. And that was at John Fogerty's insistence. He heard a tape, he decided the set was not remarkable, and he shut the door. He has said he was only ever sent Bad Moon Rising, and that Bad Moon Rising was okay, and okay was not going to be okay. Except, and this is the bit that gets me, he also says they actually played a really hot set that night, in spite of everything, and the other members of Creedence have carried real bitterness about the whole Woodstock experience ever since. 4 songs finally surfaced on a box set in 1994. The full thing took 50 years. Every band that played that weekend got handed a piece of immortality. Creedence got handed theirs, and one guy sent it back on behalf of everybody. And I know you know this feeling. The one where somebody else decides what your best night was worth. It stings differently when they were standing right next to you.
Someone told me long ago.
Number 9, he made himself the boss. Here is the thing about this band that nobody talks about enough. John Fogerty was not only the singer, or the songwriter, or the guitarist, or the producer, he was also the manager. He gave himself the job. Clifford and Cook have both said the trouble started right there, with John insisting on managing the band on top of writing, singing, playing, and producing it. Clifford's words: John was brilliant at all the musical things, but he had no experience managing at that level. He calls it a critical mistake, and says it ultimately broke up the band. And this is where it turns from a bad idea into a wall. Cook says the 3 of them were not allowed to go to the meetings. And afterwards, John would not tell them what happened in them. 3 grown men in the biggest band in the country, finding out about their own business the way strangers do. Clifford's memory of it is heartbreaking, honestly. He says they could all see it was driving John crazy. They came to him with ideas, and he pulled further in, as if they were attacking him. Cook floated a plan: go out on a world tour for a year, write a couple of albums worth on the road, bring in professionals to clean up the mess with the label. John's answer was that people would forget them. And then, the thing I genuinely could not believe when I read it. Fogerty threatened to bring in Alan Klein, the man who was at that moment taking the Beatles and the Rolling Stones apart, and the other 3 backed off in horror. That is not a band anymore. That is one guy and 3 witnesses. Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story. Number 8. The piece of the company they did not take. I love this part, and I hate this part, and I have told this story to more people at parties than I would like to admit. Fantasy Records was a jazz label in Berkeley. Saul Zaentz and his partners bought it in 1967, and one of the first things they did was offer this local band a real album, on the condition that they dropped the name they were recording under. That is how you get Creedence Clearwater Revival. By 1969, they were the only thing on that label that mattered. And here is the part I did not see coming. According to Cook and Clifford, the band were offered 10% of Fantasy Records, which, since they were the only chart act on it, was effectively 10% of themselves. John's position was that it was closer to 1%. Clifford's response, years later, was that he did not think John understood how stock options worked. And nobody could check him because, see number 9, nobody else was in the room. Fogerty had signed the original Fantasy deal as a teenager, and in 1970, still acting as the group's manager as well as its singer, songwriter, and lead guitarist, he renegotiated it himself. Cook's read on the publishing side is brutal in its simplicity. He thinks John believed the songs would come back to him after 3 years. They did not. All he got was the right to sign a new contract. Some mistakes you can practice your way out of. This one you sign. Number 7. Nassau. I need to tell you something about this record deal. It did not just take their royalties. At one point, it took their savings. All of them. The accounts of this are consistent and they are grim. Without the other 3 members' knowledge, Fogerty agreed to a tax shelter scheme put forward by Zaentz and his lawyers, in which most of the band's assets were moved to Castle Bank and Trust in Nassau, in the Bahamas. Now look at who else banked there. Castle Bank was founded by a former CIA officer and a tax lawyer. It was used to funnel money for covert operations. Its client list included organized crime figures alongside Hugh Hefner and Tony Curtis, and the members of Creedence Clearwater Revival, who lost most of their wealth when it collapsed. And here is the sentence that will keep you up. Zaentz and his associates withdrew their assets before the bank went under. The band's savings went down with it. Lawsuits started in 1978. A California court awarded the band members $8.6 million in April 1983. Very little of that money was ever actually recovered. A number on a page, a win in the papers, nothing in the account. And I want you to hold on to this one, because that Bahamas mess does not stay in the 70s. It comes back at number 3, and it comes back wearing a family's name. Some records don't just sound good. They cost something you cannot see in the grooves. Number 6. The older brother who stepped aside twice. Tom Fogerty was 4 years older. Tom Fogerty was the leader of this band before it was this band, and Tom Fogerty gave that away on purpose. Clifford's description of it says everything. Tom was the ultimate team player. It took real fortitude, he says, particularly as the older brother and the band's leader, to hand it all over to his younger brother. He did that, willingly, and it worked. It worked beyond anything any of them imagined, and here is what he asked for in return. He wanted to be a bit more involved musically. He felt it would not hurt the band if he sang one song on an album. Cook's attitude was, let's at least see what Tom can do. Let's not prejudge it. Cook says John was not going to give him any room. One song. That was the ask. Before the Pendulum sessions, there was a band meeting where Tom, Cook, and Clifford all demanded greater creative input from John. Clifford says Tom threatened to quit several times across 1970, and that he and Cook would go round to his place and talk him out of it. Think about that image. Two guys driving over, again, to keep the family together. In February 1971, just after Pendulum came out, Tom Fogerty made good on it. And this is where the song lands on you.
I didn't know.
Fogerty has said, "Have you ever seen the rain?" came directly out of those tensions. The metaphor of rain falling out of a clear, sunny day was what they were. His words, they were achieving all of their dreams, everything great, and instead of being happy, they seemed to be miserable. You have sung that chorus in a car. So have I. We were singing about this. The best rock music doesn't ask permission to get inside you. It just tells you the truth later, when you are ready. Number 5. The Limousine. You have probably heard the standard version of this story. I had heard the standard version for 20 years. Then I read what Stu Cook says actually happened, and I have not been able to unread it. The standard version. After Tom left, Cook and Clifford pressured John into giving them equal songwriting on the next album. Read almost any account of Creedence, and that is what it says. Fogerty bowed to pressure. And then every one of those accounts turns around and destroys the record that resulted. Cook says it was the complete opposite. He says Tom may have wanted to contribute songs, but he and Doug never did. Read that again. The two men blamed for ruining the last Creedence album say they never asked to write on it. Here is Cook's account. It happened in the limousine, after the last gig of a tour, right before a break. John told them they would each do a third of the songs on the next album. He would not sing on their songs, because his voice was a unique instrument. He would not play guitar on them either. Cook told him that is not what we want, and that Creedence fans would not understand it. And John's answer was, if we don't do it this way, I'm going to quit right now. Cook's own verdict, decades on, he knew we couldn't do anything without him. In retrospect, they should have ended it that night, but they didn't want the band to break up. Artistically, he says, it was a mistake, but they thought they were saving it. Mardi Gras came out on April 11th, 1972, with 3 Fogerty originals on it. Rolling Stone's review called it Fogerty's revenge and said he had let his bandmates expose themselves in public. I do not know which version is true. I am not sure either man does anymore. That is what 50 years does. But both versions are a betrayal. That is the thing. Whichever one you believe, somebody set somebody else up to fail in front of the whole country. Number 4. October 16th, 1972.
I'll be coming home soon.
You know this song. We all know this song. But sit with me for a minute, because where it came from makes it sound completely different on the other side. This is the one I mentioned earlier, and I told you, it changes the song. Someday Never Comes was recorded in January 1972 and released that May. It was the final single Creedence Clearwater Revival ever put out. Fogerty has said the song came out of his parents' divorce and his own. His words, when he wrote it, his life was chaotic. He knew his marriage was going to break up. His band was falling apart. A song about a father who never explains anything to his son. Written by a man watching 2 families end at once. And then, the end itself, which had no drama in it at all. Cook says John came round to his house and told him, "I'm quitting." And Cook said, "At this point, so am I. I've had enough." On October 16th, 1972, Fantasy Records and the band announced the breakup together. 9 years of playing together ended in somebody's living room and confirmed by a press release. Now the detail that made me put the book down. Clifford and Cook were released from their fantasy contracts. Fogerty was not. His deal still had 8 albums to run. He refused to record them, so Fantasy sued him for breach of contract. The man who negotiated the deal was the only one still standing in it. Put "Someday Never Comes" on tonight. Just that one. Listen to who he is actually singing to. You cannot always explain why a song matters this much, but you know when it starts meaning something new. Number 3. Tom Fogerty versus John Fogerty. Some of you just leaned forward. That is exactly the right reaction, because we are back in Nassau, and this time the plaintiffs are family. In 1978, Tom, Doug, and Stu initiated a lawsuit against John over the songwriting royalties tied up in the Castle Bank era. Not the label, not Zaentz, John. Fogerty's account of what that meant in practice, depositions, paying an attorney to prepare a defense, and years of anxiety, from 1978 all the way to the morning of the trial in 1983, when Tom walked up to John's lawyer and said, "I'm not suing John anymore." 5 years, dropped in a corridor. Meanwhile, John was busy signing away everything he had left. To get out of the publishing contract, he forfeited all rights to the songs he had written. And in 1980, he relinquished his artist royalties to Zaentz outright, purely to get out of the record deal. He wrote Proud Mary. He was, by then, earning nothing from it by choice, because the alternative felt worse. Then years later, John tried to fix things with Tom. He wrote a letter with about 8 points on it. Point 1. Tom, you sued me. Tom wrote back and said, "No, I didn't." So John sent him the cover page of the filing, the one that read Tom Fogerty versus John Fogerty. He says they did not get any further than that, and then their mother died. If you have ever tried to settle something with somebody who genuinely does not remember it the way you do, you already know how that ends. You can be completely right and still lose. Number 2. The man who walked into Saul's office. This is the one I have told the most people about in real life. You will understand why in about 40 seconds. 1985. Fogerty comes back from a decade of silence with Centerfield, and it goes to number 1. On it are 2 songs aimed directly at Saul Zaentz. Mr. Greed and Zaentz can't dance, with the line about Zaentz stealing your money. Warners told him to pull them. He refused and indemnified the label instead. Then came a $140 million defamation suit, which he escaped by retitling the song Vans Can't Dance. And then Fantasy sued him again, and this is the famous one. Zaentz claimed The Old Man Down the Road was built on Run Through the Jungle, a song Fogerty himself had written but no longer owned. John Fogerty was sued for plagiarizing John Fogerty. Here is the part that belongs on this list. In his memoir, Fogerty says his lawyer asked Saul why he sued, and Saul's answer was that a member of Creedence came to his office and played him John's new album and said, "John is ripping off Creedence, you should sue him." Fogerty names Stu Cook. You got the His words, he felt he had been intentionally stabbed in the back. For Stu to go to a person who had cheated and lied and treated all of them like crap and do that. Fogerty says that was the final straw, and the reason he refused to perform with the other surviving members ever again. The trial opened on the 31st of October 1988 in federal court in San Francisco and ran 2 weeks. He got a suitcase covered with brown stain hat and a stain. Fogerty sat in the witness box with a guitar on his lap and explained to a jury how 2 songs by the same writer can sound the same and still be different songs. The jury deliberated for under 3 hours and found for him. The fight over who pays the legal bills went all the way to the Supreme Court, which ruled unanimously in his favor on March 1st, 1994. He won. He won everything. He won a Supreme Court case that law students still study, and he had to do it because of a conversation 2 men who used to be his friends had without him in the room.
is down the road.
Number 1. The Brothers.
Beautiful from calling me home.
2 brothers, raised by the same mother in the same house in El Cerrito. One of them handed the other one his band. They did not speak at the end. After everything fell apart, Tom did something John has never gotten past. He became close to Saul Zaentz. John's description of it, Tom evolved into some sort of weird Patty Hearst syndrome.
Gonna find out this morning, and if you get lost, come.
His words, that's what he calls it when they kidnap you and you end up siding with your captors. In some trick of mental agility, he says, Tom ended up befriending Saul Zaentz against him. By the end of his life, John says, Tom was telling him Saul is my best friend.
Love to kick my feet.
And writing him letters that finished with the line, Saul and I will win, Saul and I will win, to his brother. In writing, Fogerty describes one of those letters in detail, Tom taking Saul's side over the Zans Can't Dance suit, ranting about how the spelling was a reference to one of the Castle Bank figures. Signed off the same way, and through all of it, Tom was getting sick. He had moved to Scottsdale, Arizona. He had back trouble, he had surgery, and he received an unscreened blood transfusion that infected him with HIV. John knew. The world did not. He considered it family business and would not break that trust. Tom Fogerty died on September 6, 1990. He was 48 years old. John's own summary of where they left it, very unresolved and very sad. The two never reconciled, and it is a regret that sat on him for decades. Here is what I keep coming back to. Tom Fogerty gave up being the leader of a band so his little brother could be great. That is one of the most generous things one musician has ever done for another. And it is the reason we have Green River and Fortunate Son, and every single record you and I love by these guys. He paid for it for the rest of his life.